Have you ever wondered what makes certain women unforgettable? Not because of beauty alone, not because of charm or status, but because they radiate something deeper, something rare. These are the women whose absence is louder than their presence, the ones who don't beg to be loved, yet are loved fiercely. They don't try to be chosen, they simply are. There's a kind of silent power in them, a quiet strength that others feel but cannot quite explain. Today, I will unveil the 7 secrets that shape such a woman. The woman everyone fears losing, not because she demands it, but because her very being commands it. The modern world often glorifies perfection, flawless skin, impeccable performance, polished behavior, as though human value lies in the absence of error. But true power, the kind that captivates and anchors others, does not emerge from perfection. It rises from wholeness. Wholeness is the full integration of all parts of the self, the light and the shadow, the divine and the human, the calm and the chaos. The woman who is feared losing is not the one who hides her darkness, but the one who knows it intimately and has made peace with it. She has stood in front of her own reflection without turning away. She has examined her jealousy, her insecurity, her anger, her longing for control, and instead of banishing these parts, she has invited them into her awareness, asking not, "How do I eliminate this?" but "What is this trying to show me?" In this way, she becomes whole. Her power is not brittle, not something that cracks under pressure. It is deep-rooted like an ancient tree, weathered, alive, and unmoved by fleeting opinions. In contrast, the pursuit of perfection breeds fragmentation. It forces a woman to split herself, to suppress the parts that do not fit the mold, and to present only what is acceptable to others. This curated self might attract attention, even admiration, but it is hollow. It is not magnetic, it is performative, and performance cannot be sustained forever. Eventually the mask slips. The woman who has based her worth on appearing perfect lives in fear. Fear of failure, fear of being seen too closely, fear of being unchosen if she stops impressing. The woman anchored in wholeness, however, does not perform. She reveals. She is not afraid to be misunderstood because her identity is not built on being agreeable. She is not threatened by flaws in herself or others because she does not fear the messiness of being human. Her beauty is not sterile, it is soulful. Her strength is not dominance, it is depth. When she speaks, people listen, not because her words are rehearsed, but because they are real. When she loves, it is not a transaction, it is a presence. Her wholeness creates safety, mystery, and desire all at once. This kind of woman understands that everything within her has a place. Her sensuality, her intellect, her wildness, her softness. None are sacrificed to fit into someone else's ideal. She embodies paradox without apology. She can be both fierce and gentle, open and guarded, generous and discerning. She is not easily labeled or possessed, and because she knows who she is in her totality, she becomes unforgettable. She cannot be replaced, not because she is perfect, but because she is whole. Anyone who encounters her feels it, even if they cannot name it. They sense the vastness within her, the unshakable self-respect, the earned wisdom, the refusal to abandon herself for approval. In this way, she becomes a mirror to others, reflecting back what they long for but may not have yet claimed in themselves. And this is why they fear losing her, not because she fills a role, but because she embodies something rare, the freedom to be entirely oneself. The most powerful woman is not one who conforms to the expectations of others or hides behind a well-crafted facade. She is the woman who knows herself deeply. She has ventured into the uncharted territories of her mind and soul, understanding both her light and her shadow. This self-awareness doesn't come easily or quickly. It requires time, reflection, and often the courage to face uncomfortable truths about oneself. It involves diving into the hidden corners of her psyche, where buried emotions, fears, desires, and past experiences live, and examining them without judgment. Self-awareness means confronting both the aspects we love about ourselves and the parts we wish to deny. It is not about crafting a perfect identity for the world to admire. It is about honestly acknowledging who we are, all the layers of who we are, even the ones we'd rather not see. The woman who has made peace with her inner complexities is the one who does not shrink from difficult emotions. She doesn't pretend to be unafraid, but she acknowledges fear and acts in spite of it. She is not afraid to express vulnerability, to admit when she's wrong, or to seek help when needed. She sees herself as both powerful and fragile, as both whole and incomplete, and she embraces the fullness of this paradox. What makes this kind of self-awareness powerful is that it is not merely intellectual knowledge. It is experiential. She does not merely talk about who she is, she lives it. She has faced her own darkness and come to terms with her imperfections. She recognizes the moments when she is triggered by old wounds and understands the origin of her reactions. She can trace patterns in her life, why she makes certain choices, how she interacts with others, and what motivates her actions, and she learns from them. Rather than being controlled by her unconscious impulses, she understands them and can navigate her emotions with clarity. This self-awareness also means that she knows what she needs to feel nurtured and balanced. She knows her strengths and uses them confidently, but she also knows her limits. She does not push herself past them in pursuit of approval or in fear of failure. This woman is not afraid to take time for herself, to retreat when she feels drained, or to say no when something doesn't align with her values. She sets boundaries because she understands that to give from an empty well is to give nothing of value. In doing so, she maintains her own integrity, and those around her respect her more for it. Knowing oneself also means understanding one's desires, ambitions, and dreams, not based on societal expectations, but from a place of internal truth. The woman who has done the inner work understands what brings her joy, what fuels her passion, and what makes her feel truly alive. She doesn't chase after success to gain approval, but rather pursues what resonates deeply with her inner purpose. This authenticity in action is magnetic. People are drawn to her not because of how she presents herself, but because of the undeniable energy of someone who is fully present with herself and with the world. Self-awareness grants her a level of emotional intelligence that allows her to navigate relationships with ease. She understands her own needs and communicates them clearly, but she also listens. She does not react to others' words and actions impulsively. Instead, she processes her emotions before responding. This emotional maturity creates an environment of trust and safety, and those around her sense that she is grounded, not easily swayed by external drama or negativity. When a woman knows herself, she becomes unshakable, not because she is impervious to life's challenges, but because she understands her capacity to face them. Her sense of self is rooted not in external validation, but in the internal compass of her truth. And this knowing, this deep self-awareness is what makes her the woman everyone fears losing, not because of what she does or doesn't do, but because of who she is when she is fully herself. Boundaries are not just rules for others, they are declarations of self-respect. The woman who is valued and feared losing knows the sacredness of her boundaries, and she understands that these boundaries are not walls, but sacred lines that protect her peace, her energy, and her sense of self. She does not wait for others to define where those lines should be. She takes the responsibility of defining them herself. She knows that without clear boundaries, she is at risk of losing herself in the demands and expectations of others, of being swallowed by their needs and desires at the expense of her own. Setting boundaries begins with self-awareness, for it is only by knowing herself and what she requires to feel safe, respected, and valued that she can communicate her limits with clarity and confidence. The woman who understands the value of boundaries does not apologize for them, nor does she feel the need to explain herself over and over. She knows that her limits are a reflection of her needs, and those needs are sacred. If someone tries to push against her boundaries, she does not immediately cave or allow guilt to manipulate her decisions. Instead, she calmly but firmly holds her ground, understanding that her boundaries serve to protect her energy and maintain her inner equilibrium. The ability to say no is one of the most powerful tools a woman can possess. She does not say yes because she fears rejection or seeks approval. She does not give in to pressure, guilt, or the desire to be liked. She says yes when it aligns with her values, her energy, and her time, and she says no when it does not. Saying no is not an act of rejection, but an act of self-preservation. It is a way of honoring her needs and ensuring that she does not sacrifice herself in the name of pleasing others. In the absence of clear boundaries, people will often project their own needs onto her, unknowingly expecting her to fill roles that are not hers to fulfill. The woman who knows her worth does not allow this. She does not let others impose their desires on her or take from her without reciprocity. She teaches others how to treat her through the strength and consistency of her boundaries. These boundaries also extend to emotional limits. She is not the type to tolerate emotional manipulation or toxic behaviors. When someone tries to guilt-trip her, belittle her, or create unnecessary drama, she recognizes the behavior for what it is and takes the necessary steps to protect her emotional space. She refuses to participate in power struggles, and when necessary, she walks away. This doesn't mean that she is emotionally cold or unfeeling. It means that she has learned to protect her heart and mind from influences that would harm her. She is not afraid to walk away from situations, relationships, or people who drain her energy or compromise her integrity. The woman who has mastered the art of boundaries does not expect others to read her mind. She communicates her limits clearly and directly, and she is not afraid to enforce them when needed. This directness comes from a place of self-respect, not arrogance. She understands that when she sets clear expectations, she is showing others the same respect she gives herself. The people around her know where they stand with her, and they either respect her boundaries or face the consequences. The consequences may be subtle. She might create distance or stop engaging in the same way, but they are clear. This clarity ensures that she is not manipulated, taken for granted, or diminished in her relationships. These boundaries also allow her to protect her time, her peace, and her sense of purpose. She knows that her energy is finite and that she cannot pour from an empty cup. She prioritizes what truly matters to her, whether that's her personal growth, her creativity, her work, or her loved ones. And she does not allow distractions or obligations to take her away from her path. The woman who is respected and feared losing understands that her energy is valuable, and she spends it wisely. She does not allow others to drain her without giving something of equal value in return. In relationships, these boundaries are not meant to isolate, but to create healthier, more authentic connections. By maintaining her boundaries, she invites others to meet her as an equal, not as someone who is there to be controlled, used, or manipulated. She establishes a foundation of mutual respect where both parties can thrive and contribute to the relationship in a balanced, healthy way. Those who truly value her will learn to honor her boundaries, knowing that this respect is the cornerstone of their connection. It is this respect, this unwavering commitment to her own self-worth, that makes her a woman who is not only respected but feared losing. When she sets boundaries with clarity and confidence, she ensures that her presence in others' lives is intentional and meaningful. Emotions are often seen as something to be controlled, hidden, or suppressed. But the woman who has feared losing understands that emotions are not her enemies. Instead, she has learned to master the art of emotional alchemy, transforming her raw, unprocessed feelings into wisdom, clarity, and strength. She recognizes that emotions are powerful messengers, not indicators of weakness or instability. By learning to understand, process, and integrate her emotions, she can navigate life with grace, resilience, and purpose, instead of being overwhelmed by the tumult of feelings that naturally arise in response to life's challenges. Emotional alchemy starts with acceptance. The woman who has learned to work with her emotions does not shy away from discomfort. She does not push her sadness, anger, or frustration into the shadows, hoping they will disappear. Instead, she invites these emotions to reveal their deeper meanings. For instance, when she feels angry, she doesn't lash out at others. She asks herself, "What is this anger protecting? What does it reveal about my boundaries, my values, or my unmet needs?" When she experiences sadness, she doesn't bury it in distractions. She sits with it, recognizing that grief holds wisdom. She understands that to bypass emotions is to bypass valuable insights about her inner world. Through this process, she becomes more attuned to the intricate layers of her feelings and learns to trust them. Rather than being overwhelmed by emotions, she becomes the alchemist, transforming them into something meaningful. She doesn't allow herself to be driven by reactive impulses. Instead, she pauses, reflects, and chooses how she will respond. This emotional mastery allows her to remain grounded and composed, even in the face of adversity. She understands that emotions, when processed consciously, do not have the power to destabilize her. Rather, they offer her the opportunity to understand herself more deeply. She knows that anger can be a call for justice, sadness can be an invitation to heal, and fear can be a teacher, showing her where she might be holding on to limiting beliefs or pattern. Emotional alchemy also requires detachment from the need for external validation. The woman who is deeply in tune with her emotions does not seek approval from others to feel justified in her emotional experience. She does not rely on others to validate her feelings. She learns to acknowledge and honor her own emotional landscape. She understands that her feelings are valid, regardless of whether others agree with them. She doesn't need others to fix her emotions or offer solutions. Instead, she creates space for her own emotional processing. By trusting herself to manage her emotional responses, she becomes a stable anchor in her relationships, rather than relying on others to regulate her emotions for her. This inner emotional sovereignty makes her more resilient, independent, and self-sufficient. In relationships, her ability to process her emotions with clarity and calmness also transforms her interactions. She does not allow herself to be swept away by the emotions of others, nor does she manipulate others with her own emotional reactions. She is emotionally mature enough to communicate her feelings openly and honestly, without expecting others to read her mind or validate her experience. When she feels hurt or frustrated, she doesn't suppress these feelings or let them fester into resentment. Instead, she expresses herself directly, but with compassion, knowing that clear communication is essential for healthy connection. She does not engage in drama, manipulation, or passive-aggressive behavior. Instead, she seeks mutual understanding and resolution, recognizing that emotional honesty strengthens relationships, while repression and avoidance weaken them. Emotional alchemy also requires the ability to process and release past wounds. The woman who is feared losing has learned to let go of old emotional baggage. Recognizing that clinging to past hurts only diminishes her power, she may have faced betrayal, loss, or disappointment in the past, but she refuses to let these experiences define her or dictate her future. Instead of holding on to bitterness, she transforms her pain into wisdom. She doesn't forget or erase her emotional history, but she does not allow it to control her. She is willing to forgive, not for the sake of others, but for her own liberation. She understands that holding on to grudges only keeps her tethered to the past, preventing her from fully embracing the present and the future. In cultivating emotional alchemy, she also develops a sense of emotional intelligence that extends to her understanding of others. She is attuned to the emotional currents around her, able to sense when someone is struggling, even if they don't speak about it. She knows how to support others without overstepping, how to offer empathy without taking on their emotions as her own. Her emotional intelligence creates a space where others feel understood and valued, but it also ensures that she does not become enmeshed in the emotional dramas of others. She is able to maintain her emotional autonomy while still being compassionate, creating an environment of mutual respect and emotional balance in all of her relationships. Ultimately, emotional alchemy is about turning raw, unrefined feelings into the gold of wisdom, insight, and empowerment. The woman who has mastered this art has developed a relationship with her emotions that is based on awareness, acceptance, and transformation. She does not run from her feelings. She embraces them, learns from them, and uses them as stepping stones on her path of personal growth. This emotional mastery not only strengthens her sense of self, but also enhances her relationships and her ability to navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience. A woman who is feared losing is one who does not live her life by the whims of others. She is not defined by the roles others expect her to play or by the labels they place on her. Instead, her life is guided by a sense of purpose that emanates from within, a purpose that is independent of external approval or validation. Her actions, choices, and even her presence are deeply rooted in this sense of personal mission, something that fuels her, gives her direction, and defines her identity. This purpose-driven presence makes her magnetic, not because she seeks attention, but because her very existence reflects an unwavering commitment to her own journey and vision. A woman with a clear sense of purpose does not seek validation from others, nor does she allow external opinions to dictate her path. Her identity is not shaped by the fleeting trends or the judgments of the world around her. She does not measure her worth by how others perceive her success or by whether they approve of her choices. Instead, her sense of self-worth is grounded in her alignment with her deeper purpose, something much more substantial and enduring than the transient opinions of others. She understands that true fulfillment comes not from living up to other people's expectations, but from being true to herself and her mission. Purpose is not a single, static destination, but a dynamic, evolving force that guides her through life. It is the thread that connects her past, present, and future, creating a narrative that is uniquely her own. She understands that purpose does not always mean grand, sweeping goals. It can manifest in small, everyday actions that reflect her values, passions, and vision. It may involve her commitment to personal growth, her desire to contribute to her community, her pursuit of creative expression, or her dedication to her family. The important thing is that her actions are fueled by an internal compass, not by external pressures or expectations. Her purpose shapes the way she interacts with the world and influences every decision she makes. Because her sense of self is rooted in her purpose, she is not easily swayed by external circumstances. Life's challenges do not derail her. Instead, they become opportunities to grow, learn, and refine her sense of mission. When others might get distracted by the noise of life, Whether it be criticism, setbacks, or distractions, she remains focused. Her purpose serves as a North Star, guiding her through difficult times with clarity and determination. She is not afraid to take risks, step outside her comfort zone, or make difficult decisions because she is driven by something larger than herself. Her courage and resilience are born from the confidence that her actions align with her deeper calling. This unwavering focus on purpose also allows her to create boundaries that protect her time, energy, and mental space. She does not waste her resources on pursuits that do not align with her vision. She is not afraid to say no to opportunities, people, or commitments that do not support her goals or values. This ability to prioritize what matters most and eliminate distractions allows her to move through life with an efficiency and grace that others often admire. She knows that time is one of her most precious resources, and she uses it wisely. Her sense of purpose also enriches her relationships. Those around her understand that she is not seeking to complete herself through them, nor does she need them to validate her worth. She is not emotionally dependent on others to feel whole, and this independence is what makes her so attractive and powerful. She gives from a place of abundance rather than neediness, and because she is whole and grounded in her own purpose, she is able to engage with others in a way that is nurturing and supportive without losing herself in the process. People are drawn to her not because she needs them, but because she chooses them. She is present with them, not out of obligation, but out of love and mutual respect. Her sense of purpose extends beyond her own personal life. She understands that her actions have a ripple effect on the world around her. Whether through her work, her creativity, her service to others, or her everyday interactions, she seeks to make a positive impact. She does not shy away from using her gifts, talents, and resources to contribute to the greater good. This awareness of her role in the broader world gives her a sense of fulfillment that goes beyond personal success or accumulation of wealth. She recognizes that her purpose is not only about her own growth, but also about lifting others up and leaving a lasting impact on the world. In relationships, her sense of purpose creates a foundation of mutual respect and understanding. She does not settle for relationships that do not align with her values or support her growth. She seeks out connections that are based on shared purpose, passion, and vision. Her relationships are not defined by dependency or possessiveness, but by mutual encouragement, growth, and inspiration. Those who are drawn to her are attracted not just to her energy, but to the way she lives her life with intention and integrity. Her sense of purpose is magnetic because it speaks to the universal desire for meaning and direction, and those around her feel the strength of her conviction. Ultimately, the woman who is driven by purpose creates a life that is deeply fulfilling and meaningful. She is not swayed by the fleeting desires of others or the superficial measures of success. Her sense of self is grounded in something deeper, something that cannot be taken away or easily shaken. This clarity and confidence in her purpose make her a force to be reckoned with, someone who is not only admired but feared losing. She is unwavering in her commitment to her own path, and this commitment inspires others to find and walk their own paths as well. A woman who is feared losing is one who does not fear embracing her true self. She has undergone the transformative journey of self-acceptance, and through this process she has uncovered the most powerful tool she possesses, her authenticity. She does not conform to the pressures or expectations imposed by society, relationships, or external forces. Instead, she aligns with the essence of who she truly is, and this authenticity becomes the foundation of her strength. She knows that to truly connect with others, she must first be unapologetically herself, not the version of herself that others want or expect her to be. This fearless embrace of her true self is what makes her magnetic and irreplaceable. Being authentic is not about being perfect or without flaws. It is about being honest with oneself about who one is, what one values, and what one desires. It is about acknowledging one's strengths and weaknesses without shame or self-criticism. The woman who is feared losing does not hide parts of herself in an attempt to fit into the mold of what others deem acceptable. She is unafraid to show up as her true self, without apology or pretense. She has come to understand that she is whole and complete as she is, and any attempt to deny or suppress her authenticity would be a betrayal of herself. This self-acceptance is not a one-time realization. It is a continual practice of showing up in the world as the most honest version of oneself. She does not seek external approval or validation to affirm her worth. She knows it comes from within. The woman who embodies authenticity also understands the importance of self-expression. She does not keep her thoughts, emotions, or desires hidden for fear of judgment. She speaks her truth, whether it is comfortable for others to hear or not. This does not mean she is brash or inconsiderate. Rather, she communicates in a way that is true to her, whether through words, actions, or even silence. She knows that withholding her true self from others is a form of self-sabotage. When she expresses herself fully, without fear of being misunderstood or rejected, she fosters deeper connections with those around her. People are drawn to her not because she conforms to their expectations, but because she is real, unapologetically herself, and confident in her individuality. This authenticity is deeply rooted in her self-awareness. She knows herself intimately, her desires, her fears, her passions, and her limitations. Through self-reflection and introspection, she has gained insight into the complex layers of her personality. She does not run from the parts of herself that others might find uncomfortable or inconvenient. Instead, she integrates all aspects of who she is into her sense of self, and in doing so, she becomes whole. Her authenticity allows her to navigate life with confidence, because she is no longer at war with herself. She is not torn between who she is and who she thinks she should be. She has learned to reconcile the different aspects of her personality, recognizing that they all contribute to the person she is becoming. Authenticity does not mean rigidity. The woman who is feared losing is flexible enough to evolve while remaining true to herself. She understands that authenticity is not about staying fixed in one place, but about growing in alignment with her values, passions, and beliefs. As she evolves, she sheds old beliefs and habits that no longer serve her, and embraces new ways of thinking and being. Her authenticity allows her to adapt and change without losing herself, because she is constantly in tune with her core values and needs. This adaptability makes her resilient in the face of challenges, as she is not attached to a rigid image of herself or her life. Authenticity also enables her to establish genuine, meaningful relationships. She attracts people who resonate with her true self, not the version of her that is crafted to gain approval or avoid rejection. She creates connections based on mutual respect, trust, and understanding. And these relationships are grounded in the honesty that comes from being her true self. Because she is not pretending or putting on a facade, she attracts others who appreciate her for who she truly is. In contrast, superficial relationships based on falsehoods or projections are not sustainable for her, as she understands that only authentic connections are worthy of her time and energy. In relationships, her authenticity also helps her set clear boundaries. She does not tolerate behavior that conflicts with her values or compromises her sense of self. She is not afraid to speak up when something does not sit right with her. Her relationships are marked by mutual respect for individuality, and she does not sacrifice her sense of self to please others. She recognizes that true love and connection come from embracing each other's authentic selves. not from conforming to expectations or playing roles that do not align with who they truly are. Authenticity also leads to a deeper sense of peace and fulfillment. The woman who is authentic does not spend her energy on trying to be someone she is not, or trying to fit into a mold that is not hers. She is at peace with who she is, even if the world does not always understand or appreciate her. This peace comes from the internal alignment of her actions with her true desires and values. She is no longer at war with herself, constantly seeking approval or validation. Instead, she operates from a place of internal harmony, knowing that her worth is inherent, not contingent on the opinions of others. The woman who is feared losing radiates a unique, undeniable energy because she is unapologetically herself. Her authenticity is her superpower, and it is the magnetic force that draws others to her. She does not seek to control or manipulate others with her behavior. Instead, she attracts them with the purity and clarity of her true self. Her confidence comes from knowing that her worth is not dependent on external validation, but is intrinsic to who she is. This unshakable sense of authenticity is what makes her irreplaceable, and it is why others fear losing her. She is not someone who can be easily replaced or forgotten, because she stands as a testament to the power and beauty of living authentically. The woman who is feared losing is not defined by others' expectations or shaped by society's standards. She is a woman who has found the courage to live her truth in a world that often demands conformity. She understands the importance of self-awareness, emotional mastery, purpose-driven action, and most importantly, authenticity. Through her self-empowerment, she creates a life that is not only fulfilling but also magnetic, a life that others are drawn to and fear. She is someone who does not compromise her integrity, her values, or her essence, and it is this uncompromising nature that sets her apart. The fear of losing her is not rooted in her external attributes, but in the deep connection she creates through her presence, her authenticity, and the unwavering love she offers herself and others. The woman who is feared losing is irreplaceable, and she becomes a shining example of what it means to live fully and unapologetically as oneself.